Hello. Today I'm going to show you the process for how to make a set of viscosity tubes so you and your students can explore intermolecular forces. These are little glass tubes that have liquids in them, various liquids that are labeled on the bottom. They have a little air bubble on the bottom. When you flip them, the liquids in the tubes travel at different speeds based on the viscosity. That one that's moving really slow is octanol, very strong intermolecular forces, high viscosity, so the bubbles travel pretty slowly through that. So the process starts, you've got to get some glass tubing, which I have a lot of in my lab. And if you don't have one of these little glass cutters, it's a pretty good investment, just costs under $10. It's a little bit better than using a file to score the glass. So I've already got my length of tubing set here, so I'm just going to copy that approximately. And with this one, you just apply some pressure, spin, and it will score the tubing. Okay, make it fairly easy. Then just take it on the corner of the table and give it a little snap. Sometimes they come off not perfectly, but that'll work out okay in the next step. So next we're going to light a Bunsen burner, beaker burner in this case, a really nice hot flame. And it's easiest if you just take your whole set of glass tubes and melt one end of them. So this is one I've already created here. You just hold it in the flame. This Bunsen burner, this one's got some lithium left on there from a flame test lab. And just hold it in there and slowly rotate until it melts the end over. After you've got all the tubes cut and one end of them melted out, what you're going to want to do is take your liquids. So I've got 2-butanone here, which is a little bit nasty of a chemical. So I've got my exhaust fans going here in the room to keep those vapors away. I'm going to keep the bottle far away from that Bunsen burner flame. These are all flammable chemicals. And then I'm going to just add a few milliliters. It doesn't take much for these tiny little tubes. And a few milliliters until we get pretty close to the top. You want to leave a little bit of space at the top. Sometimes I take other tubes and kind of make sure I'm at about the same length, although it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I've found that for the very flammable, very volatile liquids, it helps to put them in a graduated cylinder that's got some ice. You could even add some salt, but some kind of salty ice water to keep the vapor pressure down so that you can seal them a little bit more easily. I'm going to add a little water to this one. Got kind of a nice heat sink here that's going to keep the liquid inside there, keep it a liquid, hopefully allow me to be able to seal the end here. So I'm going to take the unsealed end, I'm going to put it right in that flame and just very, very slowly rotate the entire cylinder. As I rotate that graduated cylinder, it should cause the little glass tube to rotate as well. So be patient with these, it takes a while. I want to just keep heating that end until it gets melted. Slowly start to curl in on itself. See, it's already curling on the end there. You don't want to put too much of the glass in the flame, otherwise it'll start to droop on the end. But we're getting pretty close. I can see it starting to close in on itself, and it'll make kind of a teardrop shape in the end, so you know you're getting close. You can see that there. But you want to keep going until that glass completely melts in on itself, which again can be a little bit tough with these more volatile liquids like 2-butanone. Sometimes they just kind of keep pushing out that end, but you should see when it does seal, a lot of them will start to kind of blow a little bubble on the end of there, which is when you know it's really sealed in there well. This one's very close. See the end, I think this one is very close. You can see that kind of almost teardrop shape towards the end, but you got to let that thing cool. It has actually, if you look at the profile, it has gotten a little bit bigger on the end, which means that the glass is sealed and then the vapor pressure of the liquid is causing that melted glass to sort of inflate. So you just want to leave it like this for a while until it cools, and then after it cools you can flip it upside down and just check to make sure no little air bubbles are coming in to the glass. You don't want to flip it over too early, otherwise you'll heat up the liquid inside of there with the hot glass, and you could build up a lot of pressure and cause the glass to break. So I'm going to let that one cool, and then I'm going to flip it over and make sure there's no bubbles coming out of the bottom, and then I know that thing is sealed up.